My name is Professor Roger Wolman. I am a consultant in rheumatology and sport and exercise medicine. I decided at a very young age. My father was a doctor, and when I was a child, he used to explain to me all about how the body works and also the medical conditions that he treated and the effect it had on his patients. And it made me very determined from about the age of 8 or 9 that that's what I wanted to do eventually, and that's what happened. So several things. I really chose my specialty as a junior doctor. First of all, I was I did a lot of competitive sport in my teens and 20s, and I had had a series of injuries at that time, and it very much made me want to do sports injury work so I could understand the cause of these injuries, how to prevent them, and how best to manage them. And that then led me into the whole area of musculoskeletal medicine. And at that time, the specialty of rheumatology was developing rapidly because of new technology. There was better imaging techniques, such as the introduction of MRI scanning, and there was also better understanding of the inflammatory process and immunology. And that led to the discovery of a whole range of new drugs over the last 25 years. And so we're now in a position where we can much more effectively treat these rheumatic diseases. Finally, in my childhood, I was exposed to quite a bit of illness and bereavement in my family, and it made me think a lot about health promotion and prevention of disease. And one of the biggest areas one can make a difference in that field is with exercise. So getting involved in exercise medicine, prescribing exercise for my patients, which is a very key part of my practice, has been incredibly valuable and a key part of the way I see the world. Well, two things. I think, first of all, just since I've been in rheumatology, the evolution of the specialty that, as I've said, with the introduction of better technology, we understand the disease, and this evolution has led us to reclassify quite a lot of illnesses and provide better treatment. So I've loved the evolution of the science behind medicine during that time. And then also just the opportunity to make a difference, to help people, to help them understand their illness, to help them make decisions about how best to manage their illness once they have an understanding of what their illness entails. So I'm not sure what my patients value most. I would suggest that maybe it's my very much holistic approach, that I look at them as a whole patient, not as someone with an illness, because you can certainly have a disease, same disease in two people, but it will affect them in very different ways based on their psychosocial background and a range of other things. And so to understand the whole person is absolutely key. And I suspect that they value me delving into that a little bit, and then spending time explaining the disease to them, and then personalizing their treatment based on all these other factors, so that we come to a shared decision about how best to manage it. So I think that's what that I would think they would value. And I suppose the effect of what do I value about them, I think, is the opportunity, their bravery to come and talk to me about their illness, to expose sometimes quite confidential information about their background. And I find that a great privilege to be in that position where they explain things to me which they wouldn't normally explain to anyone else. Well, I suppose there are two things. I mean, the mantra really is to treat someone as a whole person and not as someone with a particular disease, for the reasons I've already explained, namely how a disease can affect two different people in very different ways. So I think that's holistic approach is absolutely key. And then the other mantra, particularly for sport and exercise medicine, is the mantra of less is more. So if I can just explain that, very often when someone's been ill or has had an injury, they're desperate to get back to their activities in the shortest possible time. So they will train very hard and try to get back to their injuries quickly. But the problem is, if they've deconditioned as a result of their illness or injury, if you train too hard, you can then get other medical problems or other injuries as a consequence of that. So very often I need to explain that let's do slightly less exercise, less training, and we can then do more focused treatment and grade them back so they end up getting back to where they want to get back to quickly, even though they're doing less than they originally wanted to do. So less is more is a very key mantra.